he wanted to write a book about his family's history, which I actually didn't know anything about, and we started talking about it. And we realized that there was very, very little documentation of Texas slavery at all. Most people that you talk to don't even know that Texas really was a slave state. They think about it as more of a western state or an oil state. But in its inception, Texas was a southern state. And so we wanted to bring this history out. And we decided to work collaboratively. And about 2 weeks after we started scouting and going up to the Tomlinson Hill area, we found out about Lorianne Tomlinson. So that was just a happy accident. And that's how the project got started.
I was a correspondent for the I am still a correspondent for the Associated Press. I spent more than 11 years in Africa covering conflict. I covered the end of apartheid in South Africa. I covered post-genocide Rwanda. I was in Somalia covering clan warfare. And one of the things that I noticed was that bigotry really had little to do with skin color. In fact, bigotry could take all numerous forms. Any form you can imagine, there could be bigotry in that form, and that's what I saw in Africa. And it made me think about my family history, because growing up, my grandfather used to say that we had a slave plantation in Falls County, and that we treated our slaves so well that they took our name when they became free. My grandfather was also a bit of a bigot himself. So when I came home from covering 9 wars over a 15-year time period, I decided I wanted to get to the bottom of my family's history and see the history of ethnic conflict that my family was responsible for. And so that's how I got started. And then that began the search to find the African-American Tomlinsons, and my book tells both their story, their family story, as well as my story, and the story of America, as far as I'm concerned, the way our two families are intertwined.
I think that the access we got was a combination of a couple of things. First and foremost, it was the fact that Chris is a 5th generation Texan, that Tomlinson Hill is named after his family, and that people who are in these communities are really interested in history and they want to know more about it. So when the last remaining descendant of this foundational slave plantation shows up and wants to investigate more of his history, I think that's really what gave us access. I will say that being a woman helps more than anything else. I think that potentially it's disarming. I think that may also have something to do with my personality. I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I am curious, and I'm motivated by curiosity, and I don't have an agenda. And I think that when you go in with really agendaless motives and you really just want to know about people, they respond to that because no one asks usually about them. So
I have a question about the research that you did. Was it really difficult to get the research, the history of the town? Where did you get that information, and what was that process like, trying to find out more about the background and the history?
I'll let Chris answer that because he's the journalist.
Well, there are actually 3 books that tell the history of Marlin. The first was written in 1898, the second in 1946, and the third in 1976. So we mined those books for material to understand what happened. Because I have a 300-page book that is the history of these two families, I had a research assistant who went through 100 years worth of Marlin newspapers on microfilm to look for major events and looking for key names and key themes. And that was for me one of the most interesting aspects, is that all three of those history books were written from a distinctly Anglo point of view, and that there was so much African American history in Falls County that had never been recorded. And that was one of the important things of getting involved with the Oral History Institute at Baylor, was not only for my book and not only for the film. We have lots and lots of material, a lot of oral histories that we wanted to make part of the record, so that hopefully other historians will come in behind us and do something more professional and less popular. You know, we're making a popular documentary film. I'm writing a general audience book. I'm hoping historians will step in and do more serious work on the subject.